What's up, rockers? Welcome to another episode of the Talk Louder podcast, where we geek out on all things rock and roll. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Leave us your likes and comments. You can also leave likes and comments on our Facebook page. Follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Instagram at talklouder_podcast, and of course our website, talklouderpodcast.com. I'm Metal Dave, along with my co-host Jason McMaster, and today's guest is the guitarist for Kickin Valentina, hard rock band out of Atlanta, Georgia. They've been around since 2013. They are currently promoting their third full-length album. They're a great band.
Are you going to say the guy's name, or are you scared?
No, wait, I am kind of scared because I don't want to mangle it. In fact, I should leave it to you because you actually kind of nailed it.
It's Heber Pampillon.
Well done, Jason. That was excellent. Heber
Pampillon.
Pampillon. See, I screwed it up. And I'm the word guy. This is terrible. Go ahead. Say it one more time, Jason.
Heber Pampillon.
Very well done. I love that.
It's not Pampilloni, but it almost is. But it almost is. It's Italian.
Close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Heber, apologies for mangling your name. But
he's got a good name.
Yeah. And Heber's the guitarist for Kickin Valentina. Again, they've been around since 2013. They're a good down and dirty, sleazy sort of rock and roll band. They've done like opening slots for the likes of Faster Pussycat, LA Guns, Skid Row. So you get the picture where they're coming from. About to go on a European tour. By the time you're watching or listening to this, they will be in Europe. And we've known Heber for a while, wanted to get him on the show and just sort of give us the background on the band, the latest album. They've gone through some lineup changes, so we get into some discussion about their new singer, their old singer, the transition, the chemistry, what that does to the band as far as songwriting, etc. And we were just really enjoyed talking to him today. So I know that they came to Austin and opened for Dangerous Toys.
And
few years ago.
And then Chris's previous band has played with Broken Teeth.
Correct.
Actually, quite a few times.
Yeah, Rockets to Ruin.
Yeah, and they also did a couple of festivals where Broken Teeth and the Toys had played. And God, it's been many moons ago. So there's a little bit of history with Heber and then some of his people, and there's obviously a sort of bloodline even with members of Rockets to Ruin, with Skid Row, with Kickin Valentina, and Dangerous Toys and Broken Teeth in some weird fashion, as to where the cruises all come into play, and then all the bands that they pretty much open for regularly every time those bands come through, or if Kickin Valentina gets on full on legs with those guys. I don't know, but it's just making the world feel really small when we have guests like Heber on, where he's saying all these things and like, oh, well, I just saw that dude last week. It's
we run in the same circles, and I think our audience can appreciate that. And the world is a small place, and when you're talking about like hardcore rock fans, that's an even smaller segment of the population. So if you've got nerds like us that are into the style of music we're into, you come together one way or another fairly quickly, I think, Yeah,
and I still think that even though a lot of people, it may not come to any surprise that there's this thread, people are still going to learn if you haven't. If you haven't heard of Kickin Valentina or don't know the history, you're going to hear about that today. And if you hear something that you like, go buy a Kickin Valentina song,
or
stream
an album,
it, buy it, go see them live.
Yeah. 3 full-length albums. One is called Super Atomic. One's called Imaginary Creatures. The latest one is called The Revenge of Rock. It features their new singer, DK Revelle, who, oddly enough, spent some time in Jet Boy. And what we learned today, which I didn't know, is he was actually an early forerunner to be the original singer of Kickin Valentina. So it's kind of come full circle in that regard. But Yeah, they've put out some great records. Each one shows a lot of growth, and I think they are at the top of their game right now. So we're happy to have Heber with us to bring us up to speed on all things Kickin Valentina on this episode of the Talk Louder podcast. So thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, how's life, dude?
And it's doing, getting ready to go back to Europe. Finally, it's been a while. We had to cancel like 8 tours over there in the past couple of years because of COVID. So.
Yep.
Yeah. You're just weeks away from going to Europe. Is that right?
Yes.
I know.
I think we leave on the 3rd, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Chris was going to join us, but he's getting married this weekend, I think.
Yes, he's in England right now, getting married.
Mm-hmm. Wow! Congrats!
And congratulations.
Well, I don't know if congratulations are in order to get married again, but we always bust his balls, man.
Well, any reason to celebrate something, right?
Oh, absolutely, man.
It's a dark world, man. So you got to find your smile, whatever it is,
Right. Mm-hmm.
And wherever it is, could be close by or in England.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So no, good for him. I just wish we all could have made it. We were hoping that it could have worked out, that it would have happened while we were on tour over there, which would have been kind of cool, but it just didn't work out that way,
Yeah.
So, because that would have been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we wish him the best, and
yes,
and we wish you a good run on your upcoming tour, and we'll get to that in a minute. I do want to expand on that a little bit, but and you've got a new album. It's about a year old now, but and I want to talk about that. But let's start from the beginning. Let's go back to 2013 when Kickin Valentina forms in Atlanta, Georgia. And I don't know if Atlanta gets the credit it deserves as a rock scene. I know
it never has.
I know you've got. I know Nashville Pussy is out of there. I think the Black Crowes, are they from Atlanta or are they from Savannah?
Well, kind of. It's Georgia, Savannah, Atlanta. It all kind of blends in. Everybody says Atlanta, and we're all from the outskirts of it, right?
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Not really Atlanta proper.
So, right, exactly.
I used to hear that Jackal was from Atlanta, and I was like, no, they're not. They're from like.
Well, I believe they're originally from the Carolinas.
Yeah, they are from Carolinas, and I know that they kind of uprooted and replanted in Georgia, but I don't know if it was Atlanta proper.
Right. Yeah. No, they're. Jesse's not that far away from me.
Okay.
I know I think the brothers are still in Carolina. Last time I checked.
Right on.
But we're all from somewhere else. Hell, I'm from New York and New Jersey.
I could tell. I can hear it in the accent.
God bless you.
Yeah. Chris is from North Carolina too, and Jimmy's from Chicago area, and DK is from California. So
yeah. So take me back to 2013 when you're forming the band. What kind of scene is happening, and was it easy to find kindred spirits, or did you have to look really hard to find the guys that were into Zodiac Mind Warp and Warrior Soul?
Right, exactly. Well, when I moved down here, Jimmy and I started the band, and when I moved down here, I was kind of over, playing music, because everything had changed for me, or back home with the grunge scene, and we're all playing in bands in the 80s and 90s and things like that. So I was kind of over the music scene, and then one day Jimmy and I started talking, and oh man, I want to play music again, and but if we do it, we're just gonna do what we want. We're not going to want to try to sound like anybody else or whatever's happening now or whatever. So just write whatever how we feel. If people like it, great. If they don't, who gives a shit? That was my attitude on it. And I was like, but I don't want to be a local band, because the local bands here, really, they're just a lot of cover bands. That's really what this scene is. There's cover bands and there's death metal bands. So we just kind of said, all right, cool. We'll just go with that. and let's just see what happens. And then we started just looking for people. And Chris had just left another band that he was in, so he wasn't looking to start it or walk into something, right? And from the beginning. And actually, DK was the original singer that we were looking at, but he was in California, so we couldn't make it happen. So we kind of moved on, and that's when we found our other singer that lived in the area.
Yeah. I didn't realize DK was on your radar that early in the beginning of the band. Wow.
Yeah. And in hindsight now, he was like, shit, I wish we could have made it work, because can you imagine how much further we would have been along, right? But, things happen for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah. So, and we should mention, for those that don't know, Chris is your bass player, Chris Taylor, was previously in a band called Rockets to Ruin that kind of had a little bit of a buzz going for a while. Right. So the band comes together, you put out, let me get this right, an EP, and then a first, album. It was only, I think your first record is only 8 songs or 6 songs.
So it was 2 EPs. So we had the self-titled EP, and then we did a Super Atomic EP. Okay. And then we got signed to a label out of Denmark, and they wanted Music Now. So what they did was they combined the first EP and the second EP, remastered it, and put Super Atomic full-length album. Okay. Right? And that's how that came about.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you guys, from my opinion anyway, were starting to make a buzz pretty quickly. I mean, I think the EP did pretty well for you, and then Super Atomic put you on the map pretty well. You were pulling down some pretty good gigs, opening for national acts and that sort of thing. So it seems to me that momentum got started pretty early for you guys. Is that right?
Yeah, like I said, we were lucky, and our attitude the whole time along was, I don't know what we're going to expect out of this. So whatever happens. We're just going to go with it. Again, as long as the music is making us happy and we enjoy playing it, it doesn't matter to us if we're playing it in front of 2 people or 2,000 people. But all of a sudden, people just started coming and buying our stuff, and promoters knocking on the doors. Hey, can you come here? And I would just go, just send me a check. I'll be there.
Yeah. But yeah, you guys did pretty well. I mean, I heard of you pretty early on, I think, as far as your recorded output, and you weren't in our area. We're in Austin, you're in Atlanta. So, I don't think you toured here heavily in those days. So whatever you were doing was causing a buzz, at least for anyone paying attention. We were aware of you pretty early. So Super Atomic, the LP, not the EP, but Super Atomic, the proper album. Then you jump to Imaginary Creatures.
Yes.
And I gotta say, man, as much as I enjoyed the early stuff, Imaginary Creatures was a massive jump for you guys in terms of, I think, in terms of obviously production and and the songwriting and the performances. Those were always there, but I felt like Imaginary Creatures was the one that was going to kick down the door for you guys.
Yeah. You know what? Imaginary Creatures got a lot of great press, and actually, I think it ended up on Billboard on 5 different charts. So unfortunately, we weren't able to tour it as much as we wanted to get all that hype with it, but yes, it was. I think at that point we started kind of bearing down and going, I think we have to kind of stop that whole, we don't give a shit anymore, and people are paying attention. So let's kind of, now let's really work on this, right? To put more effort, and I think that's what started happening, and I think that's what is happening from now on, right? So it became more of a, let's see what happens. Now it's shit. Now we got to do something better than we did, right?
Yeah, now we have to get to work.
Now we have to get to work, exactly.
I was not biting my tongue, but I was almost wanting to jump in when you mentioned you made 2 EPs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in without like jumping in and go, why didn't you just make a full-length record? I feel like now I have egg on my face, because if you would have waited to have the right material for a full-length record,
Mm-hmm.
the doors that opened for you early on wouldn't maybe not have. I mean, who knows, right? Because
Right. Yeah.
Quote, you didn't give a shit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, not to argue, but I think you gave a shit enough to, hey, I don't give a shit, let's just put out an EP, to,
Mm-hmm.
I give a shit enough about this material, I love this material, let's put it out now. Well, it's not a full-length record. Fuck it, it's an EP, because we don't give a shit.
Right.
So you do that 2 times,
Mm-hmm.
and then that built like a stair step of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately the EPs sort of mangled into a record.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get all these good reviews, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm just going through the same thing you guys just talked about. And then COVID hits. And then here you are supposed to get to work, and you can't get to work.
Yes.
And it's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault. Everyone wants to be safe and do the right thing, and that's great. Where are you right now with, and this is kind of a loaded question, where are you right now? You said you're about to start a tour, and you feel like you're going to do better over the pond than you are in the States, and maybe explain why. I mean, I can understand why, but explain it to someone who doesn't really know. Well, I want to see him, in the South. I want to see him in Connecticut. I want to see him in Idaho. How can I see this band? How would you're about to go on tour, and then I'll go ahead and say, are you writing new stuff?
Yes. We do a lot better in Europe. I think mainly, our labels there, we get a lot of press. We're in a lot of magazines over there. The crowds are different over there. Over here is more, the same genre oriented. Where over there we've had, we've toured Europe already with this band quite a few times, where we had some opening bands for us that were like flat out death metal bands. And we were like, who the fuck booked us here? They're going to kill us.
In
Europe.
Okay.
Yes. And they're, moshing and, wrecking the joint. And then we come on. We're going, we're going to shake our ass and move our hair and do all this stuff, and they're going to kill us. And here they start singing our songs, and louder than we are, we have to stop playing. And where that wouldn't happen here. Okay.
No.
We can't play with a death metal band or vice versa. It's just, people are not. So I think over there, they still live rock and roll a lot more, that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
We're over here. We have our pockets. We do very well in the Midwest and the East Coast. So we want to get everywhere. I think we did a couple of shows with you guys. We did one in Texas at one time.
Yeah. Come and take it live.
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys drove all the way from Georgia to Texas to do that shit.
Yeah.
But you know what?
That's dedication.
But you know what? You guys left a lot. You guys left a lot of people talking when you pulled out of town. That after you did that gig with Dangerous Toys, I know a lot of people here hadn't had the opportunity to see you, and of course, Dangerous Toys is a big draw in Austin, Texas, and you guys added to the bill. Just kind of was icing on the cake, and then you guys came out, and it turned out to be a perfect pairing, And I think by the time you left, if people didn't know about you before you got here, they were very well aware of you. I don't know how you did on merch sales or whatever, but I heard a lot of people talking about you after you left.
We do great in merch sales, man. I always tell people I'm in the t-shirt business. I don't play music. That's the reality of it.
That's probably,
and going back to, that's kind of the reason why we did the EPs and decided to, because, the whole thing with like people buying CDs and things like that, that was kind of going away. People weren't buying that stuff. Everybody was streaming. So we're like, why are we going to waste our money on doing a full length album? Let's just put a CD, an EP, see what happens. Right. And then that started going, well, let's do another one and see what happens. Right. Then eventually, like you said, it kind of just blossomed.
So you're not pressing this, like when you say, let's say you and me form a new band right now, and Dave is our drummer, and we're a 3-piece, and we're gonna look at Dave's face.
God help
like,
you guys.
he's like, oh shit, I don't know, man, I'm out. It's
We're
rhetorical.
doomed.
It doesn't. Okay, we're a doom band. Great. All right.
Okay.
So we write these songs, and it's an EP. It's 4 songs. Okay. So here we go. You're not pressing this on CD?
No, we did. We all our EPs were pressed.
Okay.
Not in the amount of quantities. Now everything we put out is full length, and then not only are we doing CDs, we're doing vinyl, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I just was putting you on the spot because you say no one's buying CDs. Now, time out for a second. From someone who has a garage, which should just be called a one-stop or a freaking warehouse with a wall of titles that did not sell or sell at a turtle pace, and all of a sudden I'm the guy in all my projects and bands that ends up being the treasurer and the store.
No, I hear you.
And I don't need a forklift or anything, beep, beep, beep. I got to move these old Dangerous Toy CDs out of the way to get to my old Evil United CDs to get to my Igniter. It's not like that.
Right.
Pretty close. So you're pressing low numbers, and when you sell out, you press some more if you need, right?
Exactly.
Low numbers is the way to go.
Right. Well, now we don't, and that was with the EPs. Now we don't even bother with that. The label takes care of all that.
Of course.
They press the amount because they have the distribution all over the world and the whole 9 yards, and so they take care of that.
They have the machine going. They have
right. So it's a little bit different than when we first started. Right. We were like doing only 500-600 copies of the EP, and then if we sold out, we got more, but mainly I said we just went that route because we thought everybody now is listening to music is streaming it, so it was like, are we going to get stuck with this? Does it make sense? So that's kind of how we went that way, and then we started noticing, hey, our crowd that's coming in are buying CDs, so now let's not only that, they're asking for vinyl.
It's a never ending I don't like the word argument, but conversation. Right. It's a never-ending conversation about what media people want. I feel like the younger the fan,
from rock bands, especially from what you guys do, like Broken Teeth, Kickin Valentina. It's like the audience wants what the mainstream doesn't want. The audience wants the hard copy CD. The audience wants the vinyl. Whereas the stuff that's on the charts or on the radio or whatever, people are happy streaming it on their phone. Yes. I think that's has to do with rock fans. They're just nerds about wanting the physical copy with the liner notes and the album art and that.
I mean, that was the coolest part for us, right? I mean, we opened up our album. Let me see what poster Kiss put in here, right? And then boom, it went on my wall, right? Yeah. So I think people that are really into rock and roll, I mean, they still want that physical copy. Hence, the whole vinyl thing coming back. I mean, we can't, if not only are we doing vinyl now, we got to do special edition vinyls, different colors and stuff like that. Because people are asking us. So you know what, you're asking for something, and you're willing to get it, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm working on prototypes of Kickin Valentina dildos because they're asking for them.
It could work.
Stay tuned, kids.
What about streaming sales when you compare those to, a hard copy?
Right.
What's your opinion on well, I don't want to open a can of worms when I say Spotify.
Right.
But, I'm sure any digital platform where people want to go buy one or two of your songs, they're leaving your gig and they pull up Apple or whatever and they start pressing buttons and they buy the two songs they just heard live. They buy them and they download them on their phone, and that's the way they're going to listen to that. So, they gave you a couple of bucks. Right. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But that's the kind of fan that I'm a little concerned about. If they bought a T-shirt, they're off the hook.
Right, exactly. Or something, right? A koozie, a T-shirt, a hat, whatever, right? Well, one of the things that we noticed was a lot of the people that kind of saw us for the first time and they went, you know what? I'm going to go to, iTunes and buy one of your songs or whatever hit that is. We found that, we've got emails back that saying, hey, you know what? This is what I did. I got one of your songs, but I love you guys. I saw it a couple of times. I'm going to buy the full album. So we did notice a little transition. Not every single one of them, but that go from that one or two songs to buying the full album. And before you know it, they're just asking you, well, what's the whole catalog? Which is awesome. Now, as far as the streaming,
that's a real fan. I mean, that's someone who, I heard it decades ago. Someone once said, I think it was a friend of mine from here in town. His name's Johnny Medina. I swear it was Johnny Medina that said to me one day, Jason, you win your fans one at a time.
Exactly.
And that one person that downloaded one or two songs and, you got $1.99 out of their wallet, their Bitcoin, whatever.
Right.
And and then they come back because they're at a party and they put it on random, you know what I mean? And they're Bluetoothing it. God, I hate this language that I'm using.
I know.
Bitcoin and Bluetooth is not my style at all.
Yeah.
Nobody comes to the party.
We're analog. Now you're talking digital, right?
Or dinosaur.
Dinosaur, yeah.
Dinosaur. So anyway.
Nobody comes to the party with an armful of vinyl anymore.
Anyway, so somebody's got their phone and they're DJing with their fucking phone. I'm going to throw up on my microphone right now.
Right.
Jesus.
Or I can't do a gig because I lost my little fucking plug.
Right. Yeah. So I lost my thumb drive with my tone on it.
Yeah.
I know. It's gone, right?
So they're DJing at a party or something. Hey, and a Kickin Valentina song comes on, and everyone, what is that?
Right.
And so one person gives you $2. Maybe that person played those one or two songs from you that you didn't get shit from, and you're happy that they gave you $1.99.
Right.
But the next guy that heard it, that's my style. Where can I buy the vinyl? Next thing you know, they're the person buying all. So that trickle down thing happens. I just think that the way the world is now, that can be slow. When you're sort of this, don't take this the wrong way, bro, but like kind of this underground, cool. Like here you go. You got to go to Europe to get your rocks off. Right. You gotta go over the pond to get it to make it happen. Your label's there, your press is there, you're getting all this, stuff going on. You come back home and it would be like this. Well, I'm going to go do all this, have a lot of fun and sell some records and make enough money to pay mortgage for a few months. And then when I come back to America, I'm going to my day job.
Yeah.
No,
that's a reality.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the reality. And, you could talk to a whole bunch of guys that are, been around playing music and they'll all tell you the same thing.
Yeah. That's like that's a normal dude.
Yeah.
In a rock band or
in a rock band. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. And we say that all the time that, rock and roll here has become underground again. So you have your pockets.
Personally,
right?
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
I'm actually totally fine with that because you can't change that because it's so watered down. And digital, I feel like took the ritual away. You mentioned earlier, and we talk about here on Talk Louder all the time, the ritual being, and Dave knows where I'm going. You're pulling the sleeve out. You're reading who produced the record. You know who wrote the songs. You know who produced it. Like, when song comes on, they're like, I love this Aerosmith song. Yeah, too bad they didn't write it. What? It's Aerosmith. I go, Michael Bolton.
Yeah.
I'm nothing against Aerosmith, but it's because I read the fine print. It's because the ritual. There's a ritual involved that's dying.
I'm
And
I want
if it weren't for the fucking ritual, we wouldn't have a show, and you wouldn't be here right now. None of us would be. So, isn't that fucked?
Yeah,
I want to go back to Imaginary Creatures because I think that album deserves some time. That was a really well done record, and you mentioned that, and I've reviewed a number of I think I've reviewed all your releases on my website. Too Fast to Die, and I can see the progression from one release to the next and in my opinion, Imaginary Creatures is where you caught lightning in a bottle, or whatever the phrase is. That's when you guys, capture all your strengths and flex your muscle to the fullest, and it was like, this is a great record. And so you had this momentum, at least on vinyl or whatever the recorded format would be. And you mentioned that you didn't have the opportunity to tour. A good bit of that is because I hate to go into a sore subject, but your story's not complete without it. Your singer at the time left, and Joe Edwards, and for my money, and I said this in my reviews, I thought he was one of the best singers I think I may have ever heard, and for that style of music. So you've got this great album, you're getting some great press. You had a tour booked, or I think you were going to Germany or something.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was right after you guys came to Austin and opened for Dangerous Toys.
Yes, it was.
Was that his last gig?
No, I was close to it.
Okay.
We had a couple more gigs here in the U.S., and then we were leaving for Europe. We had a tour lined up over there, and that's when all the shit hit the fan. And it happens. We wish him the best.
Okay, so point being, that the loss of momentum was due in no small part to a major disruption in the band. You got no singer all of a sudden.
Right.
So that obviously puts the brakes on any promotion for this great record. So when you go looking for a new singer, what does that do to the chemistry and the morale of the band? Obviously it tanks the morale, but what do you do as far as rallying the troops and finding a singer that's going to fill those shoes? Because I thought they were pretty big shoes.
Yeah. Well, we kind of like the three of us looked at each other and kind of went, well, you know what? I mean, are you done? Are you done, or are you done? Right. At this point, we still have commitments that we have to meet. We have a lot of friends that are singers that hit us up and said, hey, if you have to finish these commitments, I'll be willing to help, and which is great. Yeah. As far as moving forward with a new album, at that point, everything was kind of up in the air, right? We still had, like I said, some stuff that we had to fill. The European tour, that was kind of done because, we were supposed to be on a plane on Tuesday, and on Monday the shit hit the fan. So that wasn't going to happen, but we still had stuff in the US we had to do. But we looked at each other and went, well, if you're done, then, you could go ahead. I go, I'm not done. Yeah. And to me, it doesn't matter, who it is. I think Kickin Valentina at that point started, and I still believe that it has an essence of itself, right? It became its own little monster, and it's just at that point, it's going to grow regardless, right? Plug whoever comes in, right? So at that point, we weren't scared or anything like that. I said, all right, let's just move forward and start looking for somebody and see what happens, right? And, we got a few people that hit us up and we're listening to stuff. And, at the end of the day, it was more about commitment. Yeah. Who can make the commitment, right? I think the driving force of the band, the three of us were still there to make it move forward. So as a singer, all you had to do was, hey, we're going to hand you the reins here. Go ahead, get up on stage and, move forward. Everything else has been done. The fan base is there for you. Music is there. The album's there,
So this leads me, I'm sorry to interrupt. This leads me into something that I feel like we are almost not talking about. So you're in the way, and I'm not calling anybody out. I'm not saying, I love the conversation actually.
Right.
Actually love where this is going, but can you, or how do you feel about just taking, a good singer who can't do it anymore? He's gone. So you're just getting another good singer in here. Was it the singer before the new guy that helped build all of this greatness that you guys have, this momentum? And is he not going to be missed? Just like that, here's the reins, take it off, just get on stage. All the work's been done. Time out. Somebody might be upset.
Yeah, I think
Somebody might rebel. You can't do that. That was my favorite dude in your band. No Paul Stanley. What?
Right. No, I get that part. Right.
Okay.
I get that. I get that part.
You understand. I'm not throwing rocks at you.
Oh, no.
I'm just saying, hold on. There's a little slippery thing about to happen in this convo. So I just want to bring that up and go, red flag.
Right. No, I hear you. But, just like that, then you could go into, well, Iron Maiden did it. AC/DC did it.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the end of the day,
to an extent,
right?
It was a Bruce is gone. And let's make a record with this other English guy who has a different thing going on, and just do some clubs and have fun. Judas Priest, same thing.
Right.
There's a leeway though. It wasn't like, I mean, how much time did your fan base have between Joe and new guy? I'm sorry, don't know his name.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. How much of a recovery time was it? Because AC/DC, Van Halen, all of those bands had this recovery time. Hell, even AC/DC had recovery time when they got Axl for a second. There was this we're canceling everything and we're taking a break and we're going to let social media flip the fuck out for a while. But then once it got in there, the tickets sold like wildfire and it was back on. But did so a new guy was going to tour old material with an old singer with nothing new at all, which is not what that's what AC/DC did with Axl, but not from Highway to Black and Black. It was a totally new record with a new singer. So did you make a new record with your new singer and then go? Or did you just go and then the new guy was like, well, I'm not on the record, but I hope you still like this. Here it goes, right?
Right. So at first, when we did have a friend of ours that sings for a band called Asphalt Valentine, he just filled in so we could finish our commitments. Then at that point, I said, all right, now let's get serious, finding a new singer.
That right there is very commendable, and hats off to whoever's doing that, because they know what they're stepping into. Kind of like the guy that replaced Johnny Solinger, who replaced Sebastian. He knew exactly what shitstorm he was about to have to wade through.
Right.
So it's probably similar to that too.
Yeah. And we had other, Russ Dwarf from the Killer Dwarf said, if you want me to fill in for you guys while, Ted Poley was another one.
Name guys coming in.
And say, hey, you know what? You guys have great momentum going. I hate to see you guys do that. I mean, just incredible people, right?
That is awesome.
No
wonder. So you know what? No wonder you're not done. You have the support of your peers.
Well, at the end of the day,
you've got firecrackers in your pocket, bro.
I think at the end of the day, the decision wasn't up to the band. There was one guy in the band that that was ready to walk away. There was three guys that weren't, and the three guys that weren't were going to say, "Hey, we're going to find a singer and we're going to keep going. And if the fans take a year to accept this or reject it, whatever the case may be, we're not stopping." So we got no choice but to fill this void, and whatever it takes for the audience to come along and follow or not, that remains to be seen. So, but we're moving forward.
Absolutely. Exactly. That was exactly it. Exactly.
And it's not the first time Jason here has fanned the flames of some kind of conversation, but I'm telling you right now, I love Dave's save here about how he's like, okay, you got this army of dudes who's ready to go. We just need another soldier who also, and I quote, it's your words, we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
part
exactly.
of that. That was part of. You need a T-shirt that says that.
Yes, exactly. So, and that's how it happened, and then, when DK came in, again, going back to, he was the original singer that we reached out to, and we couldn't make it happen. When we called him, he was like, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "I should have said yes a long time ago. I've been following you guys. I know all your songs." I said, "Well, when can you get here?" That motherfucker came down, and we had a rehearsal, and he just went right through all our songs, like he was there from the beginning.
Wow.
And that same day, we started writing new material.
Wow.
That same day.
You know what's interesting about DK is he kind of stepped in and kept you guys running, but he did the same for Jet Boy. Because I remember, we've had Billy Rowe on the show, and I've known Billy for a number of years, and he was all excited about a European tour. Is this sounding familiar? And then their singer, Mickey Finn, bowed out without enough notice for the band to properly recover, and they got DK to go do the European dates. So this is the second time. This is how I know about DK. He's this guy that keeps showing up and stepping in when a band was supposed to go to Europe, and he kind of saves the day or whatever, or at least keeps them going.
He's the wolf. He's the fixer.
Right. He's the pitch hitter.
He's the fucking fixer.
He's the fixer.
Yeah. So, I don't want to say Band-Aid. I want to say he's the fixer. He's like the guy, he shows up with a clipboard and go, "Yeah, I think I've got this." And he throws the clipboard, and then he's he's in.
So I was going to ask you I was going to ask you, what was it about DK that made him the obvious choice? But you kind of answered my question because you knew about him a long time ago. Yes, it was just a matter of the timing was now.
The timing.
Right. Yeah.
Him living in California just didn't work. But now, fast forward, Kickin Valentina is making some money. And now we could afford to fly the singer from California to Atlanta. Right. So it's a little bit different. Became a little bit different. I remember the first question was, "All right, man." I said, "Can you handle this? You know the songs. I know the songs." I go, well, all right, let me talk to your wife. That was it. I asked her, I said, "All right, listen, this is what's going to happen. We go to Europe. We could do this. We do that. We do this. Are you going to be okay with this, or are we going to have issues with wives?" She goes, "Take him the fuck out of here. He's ready. He's packing already." All right. We booked his plane ticket. He showed up, and it's, new Kickin Valentina history from here. We end up in Europe with him, and we already started writing new songs. And I remember the one show that we were doing in Denmark, the place that we were doing it, something to do with a liquor license. They couldn't do it, so we were sitting there, and our record label owner owns a bar over there. So he's like, "Just come and hang on the bar." And then before you know, we're drinking all his booze that he finally said, "I need to make you guys make some money because you're costing me money." So he says, "You guys want to go into the studio and record?" And we were like, "Yeah, let's go." So in 14 hours, we recorded Chaos in Copenhagen right there. And we finished writing some of the songs right in the studio right there at Medley Studios over there in Copenhagen. Wow. And that was our first introduction to say, "Hey, you know what? We got a new singer. Listen to this shit and wait to see what's coming next." Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. Which brings us to your new album, The Revenge of Rock. And so now this is the first time, excluding the EP Chaos in Copenhagen, but this is the first full-length album with DK. Right. It's your first full-length as a band with the new singer. How did the chemistry change with regard to the writing process from Imaginary Creatures to The Revenge of Rock?
Well, the way we write now, obviously when we were all here, it was, with our previous singer, it was, we were all here in the same state, right? So when we got together, we just wrote. Now it's, we have ideas, we send it to him. He gives us back his input, we send it back. So we go back and forth, right? So we do that. And sometimes when we go on tour here, bring him in a week earlier to do some rehearsals. Otherwise, we don't get to rehearse with him. And, you know, we'll go over some of those songs that we're working on real quick and see how they're going and just go from there. So in that aspect, it's changed. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's, you know, we all write together. So it's nice. I mean, it's working.
Yeah.
It's worked for the last album, so it's going to keep working that way, you know?
You described the new album as the most diverse record you guys have done. So how so? How is it? Explain.
I think it's got a little bit of everything. It's got some harder stuff, kind of like Imaginary Creatures had in the previous stuff. It has more commercial stuff. That if our rock and roll music was still being played on the radio, some of the songs would be played on the radio. Where before it was more, you know, again, it was harder. Maybe Imaginary Creatures was a little bit darker. This one has some dark tonalities to it and some, you know, more commercial, poppier sounds. So it's a little bit across the board.
Yeah, I think one of the singles is called "Somebody New."
Somebody New, yes.
And you guys did a video for it, and
yes.
when I listened to that, you just said it 3 seconds ago. If there was such a thing as a hard rock radio format that was playing new bands, that thing would be all over the radio because it definitely has that sort of commercial sheen to it. You know.
Yeah.
It's still a hard rock band. It kind of reminds me, you know, as Kickin Valentina always has, is one of those bands that, you know, if you listen to hard rock radio in the late 80s and you heard Skid Row or Dangerous Toys or Bon Jovi or Rat or something, it would, or LA Guns, it would fit right in with that type of music.
Right.
So it definitely has that sort of appeal. I just wanted to hear it from you because you're quoted as saying it's the most diverse record you've done so far. And I'm wondering how much of that had to do with bringing in a new singer or how much of it was just where the band decided as a unit to go.
You know, and that's a good question. I don't know how much of it had to do with the new singer as opposed to, I guess, where kind of where we were, you know. I think that when we're writing songs, at least in this band, is we don't sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write a song or come up with a riff that kind of is like this or like that, you know, or, you know, whatever the new Godsmack song is or whatever the, you know, we just kind of get in a room and start jamming and, you know, and we just throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. You know, if it sucks, it sucks. If it doesn't, you know, we go forward with it and see where it goes.
You're getting in a room as like drums, guitar, bass.
Guitars, yes, yes. And that's the way it is. I come up with a roof, with a riff, and I'm like, and then, you know, Jimmy goes, oh, dude, that's awesome. And I'm like, really? Okay, well, we'll go with that. And then it turns into something or it doesn't. Right. And then we send it to DK and DK goes, oh, I like that, but let's change this. And how about this? And he goes back and go, oh, cool. Okay, that's kind of going in a different direction. But how about if we add this? And it just goes back and forth, and then eventually, hopefully, it makes it on an album.
So many times, it's very often, and obviously you'll agree with this, and I think Dave is not just a fly on the wall here. Dave has helped me write lyrics. Dave's chimed in with other friends of ours and helped write, you know, maybe not melodies, but phrasing and cadences via his lyrics. So, you know, to have this forum here, so many times going into a studio or a garage, a jam room, a rehearsal place, whatever. Hey, you know, meet me at the room after dinner. You know what I mean? Well, let's just jam. And we got something to work on? No. Do you got something to work? No. Do you got something? Well, let's do it anyway. You're literally throwing anything against the wall, trying to make it. How it's very, in my personal experience, it's more common than not to, I wouldn't say have wasted the evening, to wasted time, but a bunch of just jamming has not put fruit on the tree. so many times, hundreds of hours of my life have been, I'm trying to not say wasted, have drifted away with just the band riffs and bass and drums and for, hours just of nothing that have produced absolutely nothing. Do you find that? I mean, I'm okay with that because you got to write, you got to write 1,000.
Yes,
I don't know
absolutely.
what the fuck that was because that didn't influence. That didn't influence DK. It didn't influence Jason. It didn't influence Dave. It didn't. Whatever that was, it's not always. Right. You have to do the work. You have to figure out what it is you're doing. Yes. My question is, sorry, that was long-winded, but I'm setting something up. Do you feel like it might be better if at least one of you guys shows up and goes, I have something to work on. And then everybody puts all their energy into this one thing that you're working on, which is, and I found this very, very common as well. It works better. There's not one way to write a fucking song. There's 100 different ways to do it.
Absolutely.
But the point is, if one person, better if two or three, but if one person has something that, hey guys, I want to try, I got this thing going. I want you guys to come down to the jam room or whatever and help me with this thing because it's eating me up. I think it's pretty good and I want to work on it. Right. And you come up with something that actually ends up influencing the singer to come up with a melody, a hook, and even, even better, a lyric to go with it.
Right.
Do you feel like that happens for you more, or do you put a lot of time into jamming with nothing on the tree?
I think it's a combination. I mean, when I walk into the room, I have something in my head.
Okay.
Or like Jimmy will go, I've been humming this thing in my head. I go, well, you give it to me. Yeah. And then it just turns into something. So have we gone into a room just to go into the room and just come out and wrote some of the songs that are on the albums? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And some of them write them fuck themselves. You don't even have to. What we find is sometimes that when you're pushing something, it just becomes stagnant and dead and just doesn't work out.
That's what I'm talking about. And for some people that happens a lot.
Yeah.
So now and I'm not making this be about me. I'm just, it's gray area. I feel like a rock band, if there's something cooking, that's when you go in the kitchen. If you don't really have anything, it just seems, because a lot of bands, some members have to travel quite a ways to just be in a room and to produce nothing or with no surefire result. You have to be prepared for that. This is not off topic. I've read interviews, heard interviews. Zakk Wylde, I don't know what Black Label record that he made where he swears that he booked a studio and didn't have one riff, not one idea. It's like they came off the tour, made a record, did a tour, came off the tour loaded into a studio without a riff, without a lyric, without anything, and stayed in there and wrote a record. And it must be nice to have that money.
I was going to
say that's the first thing. It must be nice to have that money is right.
Right.
Because that's almost not smart.
I don't want to put
those are the old days, right? Where you just kind of go into the studio, just drink and do a lot of blow. Eventually something will come out.
Well, yeah.
When you could just hang around in the studio all day. I was going to say, and I don't want to put words in Heber's mouth, but there's a lot of talk here about going into the studio and coming out, or going into the jam room and coming out with nothing. And I would argue that even if that nothing isn't something today, it might be something 3 months from now. So it's never wasted time. It's never wasted time. There may be a lot.
I don't know.
I mean, how many times have you guys revisited a riff that was 6 months old and went, you know what? All it needed was that melody. We just put it together, And so
that happens quite a bit. Right. We try to record whatever little thing, but at the end of the day, it's a combination of everything. Like Jason said, there is no one way or one formula. People ask us all the time, "What is your formula?" And there isn't a formula for a song.
Yeah.
For a song, somebody could fart a melody, and somebody will hear and go, "Ooh, what if we do this to this?" Right. And that's the reality. But at the end of the day, you know, when we get together in the rehearsal room, a lot of times we do it just because we like hanging out with each other.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. There you go.
And you know, we are lucky that, you know, the three of us do live close to each other, so it's no big deal. You know, we have our set days that we kind of and sometimes we sit there and bullshit and talk, and you know, hell, we may not play anything, but we're just bullshitting and talking business and what are the approaches to this, that, whatever it is.
Until one of you moves to England.
Well, until one of us moves to England, right?
And even that's
and then his rehearsals are on his dime.
Yeah. but even the hanging around in the jam room just bullshitting is useful in its own way because it builds that camaraderie. It keeps the gang together. It keeps that mentality. Yes. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you know, we're the way we look at each other is like we enjoy, you know, playing music with each other. We have a good chemistry, and we wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. And that's it. You know, we're bullshitting, we're talking. I'm noodling on the guitar, and all of a sudden he goes, "Oh, that was pretty cool. What did you do?" And I go, "Oh, I don't know. What the hell was it? I have no idea. I was just bullshitting and talking, and you know, and something turns from there, or somebody hums something, or something, you know." So there's both ways. You know, like Jason's saying, yeah, it could be a waste of time going in there, and sometimes it is.
But the goal is to have your antenna turned on.
Right.
And do whatever it takes to have your antenna turned on. I just feel like it's a safer bet if at least somebody has something to say when they walk in, and it at least gets things going. It may change and morph into something else because of the other influences, for sure.
Yeah.
But I was just making the point that going in willy-nilly can be rough.
Yeah. Well, they all live in close proximity. So, you know, it's like Heber's saying, you know, if it turns out to just be a boys' night out, then so be it. I mean, it's not really on anyone's dime, and, you know, you know, and maybe something comes of it, maybe something doesn't. If you're on a budget and you're on, you know, the clock is ticking and the money's pouring out, then
that's a different story, right? That's kind of like, that's kind of like going in the studio. When we go in the studio, well, before we go in the studio, you better know your fucking parts, because we're not sitting there for you to learn them, right?
Exactly.
Because you're paying for that, you know?
Right.
The rehearsals are in my house. So, you know, well, we could cut and break for lunch and, you know, do whatever the hell we want, you know?
Yeah.
So in that aspect, but also, you know, just like every person has one, you know, somebody's always got something in their heads, right? Everybody's got an opinion, just like they have an asshole, you know? So somebody's always going to, in the room, hey, you know, this was kind of going in my head. Does it go somewhere sometimes? No. Sometimes does it? Yes. You know, sometimes it's completely off topic, and you start playing it and you get it wrong, but it sounds cooler, and you just go that way, right?
Yeah.
It just morphed into something different, right?
It can be one note. It can be one chord that changes the whole feel of something.
That's something, and just makes you go, "Oh my God!" And then it just goes, and then it goes and it writes itself.
Yeah, that's kind of going back to what I was saying earlier. It's like you have these pieces that are laying around as scraps, and then 6 months later, somebody comes up with the one note that ties it all
together.
Yeah,
it's funny. I have over the first like lockdown. You know, right after the shit hit the fan, like, you know, March of that year, you know, 2019, it was probably March. I was working from home, and, you know, you always have shit to do. There's always something, yard work, paint the house, but there's always shit to do. I had this box. Yep. I had this box of you know, boombox recordings, rehearsal tapes.
Yeah.
Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
And 4-track recordings and 8-track recordings, and I don't even have the player anymore. Some of them I was going, and it's all like, that's a 4-track tape. I don't have the player anymore. Garbage.
Right.
8-track recording. You know, the garbage. I don't have the player anymore. Okay, so the tapes that were recorded on a boombox that's literally, I'm banging. This is some 80s, you know, what is it? It's like
it's an old boombox.
Panasonic. It's a Panasonic. It's the actual boombox that a lot of this shit was recorded on. So anyway, I just start listening and digitizing these songs. And much like Dave keeps saying, oh man, you know, stuff that's weeks old, or you hold on to that. It's never lost. I'm here to argue that some of the things that never got used should have never been fucking recorded.
Right.
I'm just gonna make that argument with you.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I don't think anybody argues
there's
that.
it was fun. It was fun to relive shit. And dude, this is shit from the 90s. This is shit from the 90s. Some 2000s too, because some of it was Broken Teeth, but most of it was toy stuff. And I'm listening to this stuff and it's like, wow, you know, to hear the origin of Scared, the first version of Sportin' a Woody, like ever, that's never, ever been heard by any other soul is a trip. Yeah. And there's a reason why those songs sort of made the cut. But the shit that's in between, you're like, ugh, God damn. I could see how we thought that was cool at the time, but that's not going to work as we keep going with what we've got, right? Because you want to build, you have to, you got this first record, like your EPs. Well, now you got to write shit that is as good as that, even though the style may be, you know, because you don't have one way or one sound or one tone or what, you know, you still have to grow with your sound a little bit, right?
Right.
And I knew you would understand that. So to go through all that old stuff was so much fun and brutal painful.
Yeah. Well, it's called the creative process. I mean, you know,
yes.
You don't grow if you don't stumble along the way.
Yeah.
But you know what, Jason, too, I mean, some of that stuff like that you say, and I have suitcases of full of cassette tapes, right?
I don't anymore. I threw all that shit out after I digitized.
My wife wants to throw it all out and stuff like that. But
Smart woman.
We were looking for our wedding song because I wrote the wedding song for and we couldn't find it. But I found a whole bunch of gems, right?
Sure.
Sometimes it's not so much the song or whatever you were going after as the vibe, right? So I listen to some stuff and go, oh my God, that's terrible. I suck. I can't play. What the fuck was that? But the vibe of what I was trying to do is what captures it and just takes me somewhere else.
Sure.
Yeah. That I've gotten out of like some stuff that I wrote in the 90s or, you know, so.
Well, sometimes your naivete revisited because I'm just happy that that we record, you know, hey man, let's record, you know, let's get in the jam room and record some shit on this crappy jam box and see if we can make this turn it into something and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes your naivete can be, you know, I used it earlier, fruitful in another way because of the attitude or man, we should get something like that going. Not that, because that sucked. But something to that effect. It's like a trail of breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
That are now fossilized because it's fucking 30 years old or some shit.
They got mold on them, but you know, whatever. Blow them off.
Right.
I want to switch gears because Kickin Valentina has done. You guys have opened for a lot of names that for a lot of bands that I'm a fan of, and a lot of our audience will recognize. Obviously, you know, Pastor Pussycat, L.A. Guns, Queensryche. I mean, the list goes on.
It goes on, right?
Were any of those dates particularly memorable for you as fans, or for reasons good or bad otherwise?
Man, do we got stories? I don't know how long this program is.
There we go. Now we're on something.
But I can tell you that, you know, my fuck you list is pretty big. I'm sure Jason's got a big fuck you list too.
I do not. Surprisingly, I do not. I feel like
tell us about yours, Heber. Sorry. Yeah, I knew I was going to do it. Sooner
or later, right?
I knew.
No, I mean, do we play with a lot of bands that we grew up listening to and just awesome, you know, and they're great and they accepted us, and you know, we talk to them on a regular basis and stuff like that. And then you do have your guys that are infamous for being dicks, and you know, and it's true what they said. They're fucking just dicks. You know, I've gotten where me and one of them were going to get into a fist fight, and then, you know, ex-member of the band said, "Oh man," he goes, "you should have kicked his ass." And you know what? Then Kickin Valentina would have been on tour with us. But you know, I'm not going to go into names, but it's just it is what it is, man.
Do this then. Go into names, but on a positive note. Like who did you get to play with that you were fans of, and it was just a great experience? And you know, it was sort of a quote unquote cliche dream come true sort of moment.
Well, you know, I mean, Y&T, you know, always been a big fan of Y&T, and, you know, to me, he's just a very underrated guitar player.
Yeah.
And he's just amazing. Amazing people all around, just in general, you know, not just on stage, but off stage. They're great. You know, obviously, I mean, my big, you know, all moments are, you know, always, you know, your Kisses and your AC/DCs and stuff like that. Never got to play with them or open up for them, but everybody else is just, I've been fans of, but it wasn't a moment where like, oh my God, it's a dream come true that I'm playing, you know.
Yeah, I probably
this band.
I overstated that because I know you haven't really done a tour with Aerosmith or anything like that. But I was just looking for the one, you know, the positive experience with some names.
You know, the guys, you know, Ted Poley's an awesome dude. You know, Jason's awesome. You know, we played with them. All those guys were awesome. You know, guys from LA Guns and Faster Pussycat, the Killer Dwarves. I mean, you know, and then you develop relationships with them.
Yeah, those are all, you just kind of,
It's good stuff.
still doing gigs 30 years later with LA Guns and Faster Pussycat.
Yeah.
And I've been in the room. I've never fanboyed out on Y&T, but I love Y&T. I used to cover their songs in the early 80s. And,
Great band.
And but the people that you're talking about, even Ron Keel, a lot of these people had, the Toys had the same manager. So this was this circle of people that we were talking about, this relative circle of people, and all of the bands that you just mentioned, I've either toured with or have done these cruises with and rubbed elbows with, and they're very, very pleasant.
Yeah. We had a great time with a lot of them. I mean, like you said, we've done the cruises and all that stuff, and you know, and then a lot of bands in Europe. But you know, Y&T and more than anything was just because to me they're just more of a living legend. You know. I think it's like he said. The cool part was we were in Italy, and Dave and Jill came down to actually see us play at a festival that we did in Italy. And then, you know, and the promoter, it was my birthday, and then they showed up to my birthday, and then we stayed up all night in Lake Como, sitting on the steps, drinking wine. I mean,
perfect.
You know, with a legend, right?
Yeah.
So that just, in general, here he is, him and his wife watching us play. And then just hanging out with us the rest of the night, all night, you know, and just stories, you know. And I remember his words. He goes, "Trust me," he goes, "you guys are going to be big." He goes, "Every band that's opened up for us is huge, bigger than us."
That's
Look
true.
At Van Halen, and he get going. Molly Crew, you know.
That's true. So it's just a matter of time, man. It's just
that's what we said. Just a matter of time. Just keep pouring the wine, though, Dave.
Well, hurry up so I can tell people I know you. Hurry.
Yeah, right.
What's the hold up, dude?
Yeah, I know, right?
In the words of Dave Menichetti. Yeah.
Heber, I wanted to ask you, I've heard this through the rumor mill, and you can confirm or deny it, but I heard, again, through the rumor mill, that there was a time when you did some work with Michael Monroe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell me about that, because I'm a huge Michael Monroe fan, and I was just curious to know in what capacity or how, what was that?
Well, he was rehearsing at SIR Studios, and I became a gun for hire, and he was putting a band together to go on tour in Europe, actually in Japan. That's where I was going to go, and pretty much. The band that was hired, we learned all the songs, and he never showed up.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, so for some reason or another, then all that whole thing got canceled. So, but we were there. We were getting paid just to rehearse, and and learn all his music for about 3 months.
What year is this? Like what album would he have been touring?
Wow, it was that was it Man Without a Face? Was that the album? Was that the name? Wow, we're going back.
Not Faking It.
Not Faking It. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's going back.
That's going back.
Yeah.
That's going
Yeah.
back.
Wow. So it's true. Wow. But nothing materialized, but you got paid.
Yeah. That's it. We got paid to sit around.
Was Tommy Price drumming in that band?
No, these were all unknown guys like me at the time.
Okay.
So I don't know where, the reason why is because, obviously probably because he could pay us less.
Yeah, right. I think Tommy,
and we were all fine. We were young and ready and eager and shit. We'd do anything for, a box of Oreos and a shot of Jack at that point.
Exactly right. I want to say Tommy might be on that album. That's the reason I asked, but yeah.
None of the guys that played were in this.
Right. He's
we had a lot of guest people play on that.
Pulling together a young band to take on tour, not necessarily the same band that recorded the record.
Yeah. Hell, I don't even know if you knew our names. This was something the label put together.
Yeah. So I want to go back to your childhood and tell me real quick, before we wrap up today, I wanted to know, when you're a kid growing up, when did you start playing guitar? Who were your earliest guitar heroes? And then what was the moment that you got bit by the rock and roll bug and said, this is what I want to do for a living?
The moment, I was young. I was at a Kiss concert, and I saw about 3 girls throwing their panties at Paul Stanley. And I said, shit, that's what I want to do. Not throw my panties at Paul Stanley, but you know what I mean.
Oh man, you don't want to throw your panties at Paul Stanley? Okay.
No.
It was the other thing.
It's the other thing, right?
Yeah, it was like, I want that job.
I want that job, exactly.
Cleaning up girls' panties off of Paul Stanley's feet.
Right, exactly. So to me, Kiss was always a big influence. Just the spectacle that was Kiss.
Yes.
Everything they did was like top notch. It was like, all right, well, top this. You do this, we're gonna do that. So to me, that was the whole thing. Ace Frehley was definitely a big influence on me. But then I started getting more into like classical music and fusion and stuff like that because of my guitar teachers at the time and things like that. I got big into Al Di Meola and John McLaughlin and John Macy.
Wow.
But then, then you have you guys like Yngwie, right? That were like, oh my God, what is all this about, right? And you sat in your room and you learn how to sweep and do all that stuff. And you spend, all kinds of money on racks and you fuck with them to make them sound like a Marshall and a Les Paul.
Yeah.
I go, shit, that's what I have, a Marshall and Les Paul. Why do I have this refrigerator full of racks? We're not just plugging straight. But, I'm a big Hendrix fan. Obviously Dave Minchetti. So a lot of these guys were, I loved Eddie Van Halen, but it wasn't where I was influenced by Eddie, right?
Yeah.
I was more of a bluesier guy in that aspect, a little bit raunchier. So it was guys like that, kind of lower their Les Paul and.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you come from a musical family?
My aunt was a concert pianist and so was, my great grandfather. So that's where it came from, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we touched on your latest album, The Revenge of Rock. It's now a year old. You're into the writing process for the next album, I guess. So give us a quick summary of where you are on the new album and when we might expect it. And are there any changes in direction or any surprises?
Well, there's always a whole bunch of surprises, right? There's we have been writing quite a bit. So we're hoping that we could probably write about 30, 35 songs and then just pick, right? Yeah. And just start going that route, do something a little bit different. In the past, I think we've always been like, pretty much everything we write, we have that. Okay, is this going to go to? Does this sound like it might make it on the album? If it doesn't, any of it, it's not coming, right?
Yeah.
I think at this point we had a little bit more time, so now we kind of just, writing songs, finish them, and just going, okay. Then we'll listen back, and then if we have to revisit and fix it, then we will. But so we're hoping we're doing more of that. There's going to be some surprises, but as far as when, I'm thinking maybe another year, because we really want to tour this album. We haven't toured it in Europe.
Yeah.
We've done quite a few shows here in the U.S., but we haven't toured it in Europe. And it just, and the last 2 full-length albums, we haven't been able to. So we're kind of have it, we have our dicks hard about it. Like, we need to tour this a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's give it some miles, right? Even though it's been out for a little while.
Right. Right. I can totally appreciate that. You and every other band on the planet lost a lot of time as far as promoting whatever, and just getting your rocks off on stage. And you've got 2 albums that never really got to be exposed in a live arena. So I can appreciate you guys prioritizing your time in terms of touring, maybe, and delaying the record a little. Not that it's being delayed, but I get what you're saying. You guys are ready to get out there and give people the last 2 albums the way they intended to be delivered.
Right. No, I agree. And and we had a conversation with our label too, and I was like, listen, to put a new album out, we don't know where this is going, right? This fucking Rona shit that's going around. It's like, are we going to be able to tour that one? So if we just spend all this time to record this new album, are we going to be in the same boat?
Yeah.
So until we know that it's going to kind of open up and it's just, we start seeing more, and which we have, more and more bands going out.
Yeah.
To me personally, it just seemed like a waste of time.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want to have album number 3 sitting on the shelf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would rather, wait a little bit and know for a fact that the next one we're going to be able to tour properly than just put something out just to put something out,
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're a live band. We're not an album band. We're a live band, not a couch band. We're a live band. We need to be in front of people. We need to sweat on people. We need people to spit on us, to throw pics at us, whatever, it's just, we're a live band, and that's what we like to do. And that's what we want to do. Yeah.
Well, that's the essence of rock and roll, isn't it? I mean, all 3 of us in this room can totally appreciate the energy that gets exchanged between audience and in the stage. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, man, I wanted to thank you for being on the show today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I've been a fan since you came on my radar, and I really do like the progress I've seen, and I'm glad things are going well with DK, and I know you've got this big European tour coming up. I wish you the best of luck on that, and safe travels, of course, and continued luck with the writing of the new album and success in general with the band.
Appreciate it. You guys having me on.
Yeah, and give our best to your bandmates, and hopefully we'll see you in Texas in not too much longer. You guys were great the last time you were here, so we look forward to that. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll do some shows together. We'll get back. We're going to start booking over here, so we'll see. Jason, are you guys doing something in? Are you doing in Philly the Brad Lee thing? Are you doing that?
Not the toys, Dirty Looks.
Dirty Looks, yes.
I'm fronting Dirty Looks now, so we're on that thing, and then we're playing the next night in Sealands Grove. So it's a Pennsylvania road trip.
Right, yes, exactly. Yeah, we'll be there. I love some Dirty Looks. Did you know that Henrik produced one of my EPs back in the day?
Holy shit, really?
Wow.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Tell us about that real quick.
I've always been a Dirty Looks fan. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Right. So we got some history. I think actually I still have it somewhere.
Wow, and that's cool. How did you hook up with Henrik?
It was through a mutual friend in Pennsylvania that owned a studio. So he was always like, "Hey, can you come down and record something? I want to record your band." And we're like, "Oh man, come on! I'm in Jersey, you're in Pennsylvania, you know, I want to travel over there when I got 80,000 different studios right here. And then he goes, well, you know, I could get Henrik to produce a couple of songs. I was like, all right, cool. When do you want me there?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you kind of jump at the chance to work with Henrik, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So it was,
you can imagine me pinching myself singing Henrik's songs.
Oh, you can do it, man. You can do
with
it.
these guys, and well,
He's done it.
The
He
show we
already did it.
the show we did last year was incredible. We did Selinsgrove last year, and it's all on video, and we hit a hard drive with the live track. So there's going to be a DVD and a live record coming out.
Now, what can't you do both and do double duty, man?
Because Paul and I are both in Dangerous Toys, and that's conflict of interest. It's not. I don't think it's smart for fans. It's like, all right, Dirty Looks, that was cool. Turn around and then turn back up, and me and Paul are still up there. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't like that.
See, I would be okay with that, right? I would be okay because I'm a fan of both. So
me and Paul are not okay with that,
right?
Yeah,
and him and Paul need a nap.
Right.
Well, I was trying to leave that part
you know
out.
what? You know what? You give us an hour.
Myself. Paul's not here. I would need a nap. Yeah.
Right. So you know what? You give us an hour, we'll play in between you guys. We'll give you an hour to take a nap.
Well, you know, why don't I bring about 4 of my other bands, and Broken Teeth can play, and Catch
there you go.
And it's a conflict of interest. It doesn't matter. It confuses the ticket holder. It confuses the fan. I like how much energy you think that I have, but no, it doesn't exist. So we'll see you in Philly real soon.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome.
Right on. Heber, thank you so much for being with us today. Like I said, give our best to your bandmates. We'll look forward to your next album and hopefully a tour that runs through Texas soon. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave, along with our special guest, Heber from Kickin Valentina, on this episode of the Talk Louder podcast.